So now we should have a pretty good idea of what Nagel is trying to do in his essay, Death, which is not, again, to give a general view of what death is, but rather to establish a specific point about death, that it is bad, that it is an evil. Clearly he has something like the Epicurean view of death in mind as his opponent here. That is the kind of thing that he's arguing against. Remember, Epicurus didn't say that death was a good thing. His point was that it's neither good nor bad, because since death deprives us of all awareness and perception, and since we have to be aware and perceive things to perceive them as good or bad, that death is nothing to us. It's neither good nor bad. But that doesn't imply that it's not bad, and Nagel wants to establish what he would view as the natural perspective on death, that is, that it is bad, that it is an evil. So how's he going to do that? He makes an important point on page 74 as his argument gets started. In the beginning of the second paragraph on page 74, he says, clearly, if death is an evil at all, it cannot be because of its positive features, but only because of what it deprives us of. It is, as he goes on to say, death is not like life, in the sense that this is the first asymmetry that he talks about. He takes it as almost as assumed or stipulated that life is a good, that to be alive is good, but that it is and that it is good for its own sake. That is, the state of being alive, because it entails certain goods, is in itself a good. That is, life is good because of its positive features, that is, because of the things that are actually part of being alive. But death, if it's bad, if it's an evil, it's not because of its positive features, it's because of its negative features. As he continues there in that same paragraph, I shall try to deal with the difficulties surrounding the natural view that death is an evil because it brings to an end all the goods that life contains. And then at the bottom of the page, in the last paragraph of page 74, after saying if we turn from what is good about life to what is bad about death, the case is completely different. What we find desirable in life are certain states, conditions, or types of activity. It is being alive, doing certain things, having certain experiences that we consider good. But if death is an evil, it is the loss of life rather than the state of being dead or non-existent or unconscious that is objectionable. This asymmetry is important. That is, that he wants to establish that death is an evil, that death is bad, but not because being dead is bad, because I think he would, in a certain sense, agree with Epicurus here in saying that makes no sense, because you do not exist. So how can something be bad for you if you do not exist? But that we can, if we're going to conceive of death being an evil nonetheless, it would be because of what it deprives us of, that is, the goods of life, rather than its positive features, that is, it being inherently bad or inherently evil to be dead, which really makes no sense. So that's the first asymmetry, and you should read that note about the two asymmetries because it's a little confusing. Hopefully that note will clear things up, and we'll discuss it in the videos as we go along. Just one more note on page 75 in the next to last paragraph. It's very important the way he puts it here, I think. If we are to make sense of the view that to die is bad, it must be on the ground that life is a good, and death is the corresponding deprivation or loss. Bad not because of any positive features, but because of the desirability of what it removes. We must now turn to the serious difficulties which this hypothesis raises. That is, there are some problems that he has to deal with in his defending his fundamental thesis, which is what? Death is a bad, death is evil. Why? Because it deprives us of something good. That is life and all the goods that go along with it. So that's really the first step, is conceptually, okay, if death is a bad, or death is something evil or bad for us, what kind of evil is it? Why is it bad? not because of its inherent positive features, but because of its negative features. That is, what is it that death takes away? So death, under Nagel's conception, is an evil because it deprives us of something good. Now he has to deal with some of the difficulties associated with that position.